Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most improbable, just absolutely mind-boggling victories in all of military history. We're talking about a battle that, on paper, should never have been won, and a king who, by all accounts, should never have even been on the battlefield.
Right, so this is the core question, isn't it? This is the story of November 25th, 1177. It was a day that was supposed to be the end of Jerusalem. Instead, it became the stuff of legend. We're going to break down just how courage, brilliant strategy, and a colossal underestimation completely flipped the script.
So on one side, you have the mighty Saladin. He's 39. He's a living legend in the Muslim world, a tactical genius who's united Egypt and Syria, a real powerhouse. And on the other side, King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem. He's just 16 years old, his kingdom is a mess of internal rivalries, and his own body is being destroyed by leprosy. The contrast? Well, it couldn't possibly be any more dramatic.
Okay, so let's set the scene here. We're in late 1177, and things are looking incredibly grim for the Kingdom of Jerusalem. It's like a perfect storm of bad decisions from within and a massive threat from without, all gathering right on their doorstep.
Here's where the trouble really starts. The kingdom's leadership basically made a huge strategic blunder. Most of their army, including the legendary Knights Templar, the elite warrior monk shock troops, they'd all marched north to attack a totally different target. This left the heart of the kingdom, Jerusalem itself, almost completely defenseless. And Saladin, well, he's a master opportunist. He saw this and knew this was his moment.
So he invades from Egypt with this massive force. Now, numbers from this long ago are always a bit tricky, but the estimates put his army at around 26,000 men. His plan was brutally simple: march straight to Jerusalem and just wipe the Crusader Kingdom off the map.
And what's standing in his way? What's the grand army sent to stop this invasion? Well, King Baldwin, racked with his illness, could only scrape together about 375 knights. No, that's not a typo. 375 against 26,000.
I mean, just look at this. This chart says it all. The odds weren't just long, they were completely insane. If you were a betting person back then, you would have put everything on the total annihilation of the Crusader army. It looked hopeless.
But Saladin, he made one critical mistake. It's that classic trap of hubris, of overconfidence. He completely and, as it turns out, fatally underestimated his young opponent.
And get this, Baldwin's physical condition was just awful. His leprosy had totally disabled his right arm. He literally had to learn to command his warhorse in the heat of battle using only his knees. And yet there was no way he was staying behind. He personally led this tiny force to the fortress of Ascalon. The willpower on this kid is just off the charts.
So Saladin sees this little group of knights holed up in Ascalon, and he basically just dismisses them. He thinks the sick king is trapped. He's no longer a factor. The game's already won. This was a huge mistake. He let his army get sloppy, spreading out all over the countryside to raid and loot, totally relaxed and unprepared for a real fight.
So let's just walk through how this gambit unfolds. Baldwin refuses to just sit there and wait for the end. He manages to get the Templars from nearby to join him, and then they launch a daring breakout. From there, it's a desperate race against time, a relentless pursuit to catch Saladin's massive army, while it's scattered and vulnerable.
Now, the Crusaders didn't just stumble upon the Ayyubid army. Oh no, it was much smarter than that. They lured them into a tactical trap, and they turned the battlefield itself into their most powerful weapon.
This is where local knowledge becomes a complete game changer. Two local lords, the Ibelin brothers, they knew the area like the back of their hand. They guided the Crusader army down a path Saladin didn't even know existed, leading them straight to a patch of soggy, marshy ground. Suddenly, Saladin's biggest advantage, his huge cavalry force, was about to become a logistical nightmare in the mud.
So just picture this scene for a second. Saladin's army is in total shock. They're scrambling to form battle lines on this awful ground. And at that exact moment, King Baldwin is helped off his horse. He falls to his knees in front of a relic of the true cross, and he just prays. For his men to see their ravaged king show this kind of faith, I mean, you can't buy that kind of morale boost. It was electrifying.
What happens next isn't really a battle in the traditional sense. It was a single, thunderous, perfectly timed shock attack that basically rewrote history in the span of just a few minutes.
The charge was instantaneous and absolutely devastating. Baldwin gets up and leads it himself.
The heavy knights form up into a tight wedge and just slam into the disorganized Ayyubid line. The impact was so violent that Saladin's formations, still struggling in the mud, just disintegrated. The Crusader infantry then pushed up right behind them, cleaning up and making sure there was no chance of being flanked.
You know, we don't even have to imagine it. We have an eyewitness account that captures just how terrifyingly effective this was. It says they charged as one man, and that even Saladin himself was struck with awe watching his own army just break and flee in every direction.
And here's the crucial part. The attack was so successful, it sliced right through to Saladin's personal bodyguard, his elite Mamluks. These guys were the best of the best, and they were just shattered. The great Sultan was almost captured and had to literally run for his life on a fast-racing camel. He was a fugitive on his own battlefield.
So as the sun set over Montgisard, the true scale of what just happened started to become terrifyingly clear. This wasn't just a victory, it was a complete and utter annihilation.
Saladin's entire invasion force was basically destroyed. Something like only 10% of his army ever made it back to Egypt, and even that retreat was a nightmare for them, with bad weather and local tribes picking them off the whole way home. Now, let's be clear. This victory came at a steep cost for the Crusaders, too. They lost a lot of good men, but you have to weigh that against the alternative, which was the guaranteed destruction of their entire kingdom. I think it's safe to say it was a price they were willing to pay.
This defeat was so humiliating for Saladin that he actually had to send out messengers just to prove he was still alive and in control. Meanwhile, for Baldwin, this one victory secured his kingdom for almost another decade. It was a peace bought by the sheer guts of its dying teenage king.
And that, right there, is the heart of this entire story. Baldwin, a boy whose body was failing him, proved that leadership has nothing to do with physical strength. It's about the will to act, the courage to stand up against impossible odds. And it leaves you with a pretty powerful question to think about. What really is it that makes a leader truly great?